right, welcome back to the channel, guys. Tomorrow is the final HPD of the season, only the second for me because it took so long to get this thing back in running shape. Many of you might have watched the progress. If not, maybe you want to go check those old videos out, but we have one more road course track day this year. And if you saw recently, I just upgraded the fronts to the current 6th gen Camaro front brakes. So it's up to a 4-piston from a 2-piston caliper, an extra, I think, 0.6 of an inch in diameter on the rotor. So a little larger rotor and 2 extra pistons and more brake pad surface area. I bought those brakes used and they came with unknown pads. I don't know what pads are on them. So I went ahead and picked up some Carbotech pads. I was running XP8s on all 4 corners at the last road course event, and I moved to XP10 in the front. A lot of guys seem to stagger them 1 step up in the front over the back. So that's what I'll be trying. So more aggressive pad in the front and a bigger, better brake in the front. We'll see how it performs tomorrow. So first step is these just arrived today. I'm gonna get them thrown on this evening. Probably try and go out this evening and get a quick bed in on some closed roads. And then we'll be ready for track day tomorrow. Okay, that might be the fastest brake pad change I've ever done. Incredibly easy. And this is actually the first time I've ever done it, so I was kind of figuring it out and I probably did it under 15 minutes. The other side, now that I know how to do it, I could probably do it in 5, which I'm gonna get to next. I won't go ahead and bore you with recording that, but I'll do the passenger side and then it'll be time to get ready for tomorrow. All right, all packed up and ready to head to the racetrack. Figured I'd take a minute here and just cover what has changed since our last PDX. So first is a bigger brake kit up front and moved from the Carbotech XP8 to the XP10 pads up front. So I'm hoping brake is a lot better. It was a little weak at the last event. And the intake was ported a little bit, not a lot. So probably not a whole lot to gain there. And then a much better cold air intake up front rather than just taping off the bottom half of the filter. So the filter's open all the way around. It should be able to suck in a lot more air and not air from the bottom underneath the radiator. And that's pretty, I put a DRM bias spring in the brake master cylinder to put a little more bias into the back. And then I've opened my proportioning valve all the way up. And with the new brakes last night when I went to go bed them in, I'm definitely locking the fronts up first, which is good. You want to be locking the fronts up. So I've got as much brake as possible in the back. Hopefully that improves our braking situation as well. And that's about it. So some little changes, not massive changes. Should be a fun one. After arriving at the racetrack and picking out a paddock, it's time for a little browse among the cars that were there. It's always enjoyable to walk around and look at what everyone else brought to the track, and I always enjoy seeing owners of nice cars actually bring their cars to the track and push them hard rather than just being garage queens. After a little walk around and doing some setup on the car, I get to the track and need to adjust my damper settings, compression and rebound on the spring dampeners and tire pressure, and put in my window nets and safety devices and just kind of arrange things, eat a little snack. So after that, it was time for driver's meeting.
We've got a great group of instructors. Will all the instructors please stand? Do we have a round of applause for the
After the driver's meeting, the intermediates are actually the first on course. So we were the first ones out on the track. You're kind of getting tires up to temp the first couple of laps. So I figured I'd throw in my best lap for the session. There's definitely a lot more left in the car. This is just the best lap for this session. You can actually see as I cross the finish line, they're waving the checkered flag, which means it's time to bring it back in. So I let off gas even before the finish line. So probably lost, half second there, and got slowed up by one car in that lap. And there's definitely more time in some of those corners. So I think sub 1 minute, 10-second lap is actually possible here. We'll have to push it and figure that out. Video with just the raw track footage from the day, if anyone is curious and wants to watch that raw track footage. Heading out for session 2, I got a couple of good laps in, and what you're about to see is my disaster lap. First of all, coming off of the straight onto turn 1, I don't think I was actually braking that hard, but you can see here in the video the rear brakes locked up first, which means my portioning valve was not set correctly, as I previously stated in the video. I've got too much brake in the back, so the rear is definitely locked up, and that's not really what you want at all on the track. Fortunately, disaster averted on the rear brakes locked up. I head around the track some more, and as I'm coming around NASCAR 3 and 4, I start noticing a little bit of water on my windshield. You can actually see it in the video as I come around. And coming off of the straight onto turn 1, I really notice a little more water, and also notice that the engine starts running really rough. So I wave all the cars around and head straight to pit lane and back to the paddock to check out what's going on. Well, that's never a good sign. Track day has ended prematurely. And it's this idler pulley. It actually, let's see if I can get some light in here. It rubbed a hole in this hose. You can actually see it squirting out right now, right onto that belt. So, I don't think anything's hurt, but it's definitely the end of the track day. All right, I cut a little bit off of here, shoved this in, and then threw a zip tie around to pull it away from that pulley. I think we'll be good. I think there's enough clearance there. And I started the engine up. Doesn't seem like anything's damaged. I'm pretty sure nothing overheated. So we're gonna go back out and try it some more in the next session. Well, wasn't the day that I wanted. I still had a lot of fun, but project cars will be project cars. So as you saw, we had one issue, and then I had another issue immediately following, right around the same time. At this point, I do not think they are related, but they might be. I hope they are not. So I was out for the second session, not too long into the second session, coming off of the long straight. I don't know, I was probably doing 100, I had just passed a car, so probably 135 to 140. Probably wasn't at full speed. Anyway, coming off of turn 1, I braked. I think my rear tires actually locked up. I was braking pretty hard, but I didn't think I was braking hard enough for the rear tires to lock up. And around about the same time, I noticed water on the windshield. So I don't know if it started leaking water and some water got on the rear tires, but they were locked up. And so I immediately kind of pulled over and let a bunch of cars pass. I'll probably throw some video of that part of the session in here. The car started running rough, like pretty much immediately. So got really concerned, lit my way back to the paddock, shut the car off, and it was clearly leaking water. And as you can see, the belt had wore a hole in one of the wire lines for the cooling system. I'm running just straight distilled water in this system, so I cut a little bit of that off and threw the hose back on. It dumped a bunch of water when I took the hose off, so the system was still pretty full. And when I refilled it, I probably put half gallon of water back in it, and it was mostly full at that point. That was what I had available. It wasn't distilled water, but it was bottled water. So hopefully a little bit better than tap water. I'll probably need to do a flush because I like it to be either distilled water or actual antifreeze. Anyhow, started it back up. It ran fine. I sat out the rest of session 2, went out for session 3, and as soon as I got on the power, this thing started breaking up really bad. It was running super rich, like 9 to 10 AFR, and just didn't want to run right. So I limped it straight back around to the paddock and shut it off. And there was a guy there who knew a decent amount, had installed dozens of Holley systems, and so we kind of talked it over a little bit. Kind of did basically a reset on the TPS, not the Wizard TPS, although I did do that later, but kind of a throttle clear. Basically, you hold the foot to the floor and you turn the Holley on, and then you try and start it. So it seemed happy. And so then I took it out to a side road. I didn't really want to go back out into session and cause more delay or problems for other people. So I took it on a side road around the race complex there. And as soon as I put my foot in again, it started acting up. And when I put my foot in it, it acts up, like it starts breaking up real bad, and then it stays really unreliable, like it won't even idle. And so I have to turn it off, reset the system, and then I can start it back up and it'll idle just fine. And I can go probably half throttle and it'll be just fine. But when I, at least under load, I think I actually floored it, or, well, I'm not sure I actually floored it sitting at idle, in neutral. But under load, you shove your foot in it and the problem starts immediately. Turned off closed loop, so it was in full open loop, turned off fuel learning, and the problem is still there. So I think that means it's not an O2 sensor. And so the Holley guy actually speculated that it is the throttle position sensor, that it has a bad spot in it. So I'm not sure. I'll need to do some troubleshooting. Maybe get another TPS and throw that in there and see if the problem clears up. But a little bit disappointing to only really get 1.5 sessions, maybe not even a half of that second session. First session was great. Took a little bit of time for the tires to warm up, but once they were warm, I was flying. I think my best lap was a 1:11 on the first session, and there was definitely more in it. So unfortunately, that was the last HPDE or PDX of the season. So I'll have to wait till next year. But if I figure out my braking zones and some of the lines that work for this car, man, sub 110 in that track is definitely possible. We'll see how far into the single digits past a minute I can go. I doubt it's ever going to be a sub 1 minute. I mean, that's an extreme car. I think GT3 RSs are doing like the good drivers are doing like 106, 107 around that track. So definitely something to aim for. See if it's as fast as a GT3 RS. But so I had a blast the first session. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way I wanted it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.